Hello students, welcome to Module 3, and this is the Module 3 lecture video which would help you go over the concepts related to file handling, so reading from text files and also doing calculations on numbers. This video is designed to help you make the work in the lab very easy. The lab contains an exercise for you to write one method that does the delay calculation by getting the input from a text file, right? So this video will help you towards that, and once you're done with the lab, then you will be incorporating all of this stuff into your assignment 3, and hopefully that should make it very easy. So I'm going to cover two things in the video today. One is I will go over how to open files, how to do calculations, but more importantly, this week we are concerned with using repetition structures, and so the first part of this video will cover how repetition structures are going to be useful for us in reading from files. As you know, any programming language currently offers to us two kinds of repetition structures. The first is the for loop and the other is the while loop. The for loop is called a count-controlled repetition structure because it iterates or it repeats a certain task a fixed number of times. And so typically, for example, if you wanted this program to write hello world 5 times, you would say for integer I equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Right? This is what you would do. I'm just going to indent this a little bit. So this is a count control loop, and here I'm going to say, so this says hello world 5 times, right? Remember that you have to, if you start at 0, you must end less than 5. Now I can change this and I can say, for example, if I do not know how many times I would like to write hello world, but I would ask the user to input this for me, then I can say something like standard cout, right? I can say please enter the count, right? And here I'm going to I will see in the times. I have to go back and declare times here. I will set this also initialize to 0 just in case. Indent the stuff, indent my statements here, and do standard cin, right? And then I will write how many times do I want to write. I can say something like while times is less than while, okay, let me initialize another variable here. Integer count is equal to 0, and then I'm going to say while count is less than times, right, or less than equal to times. I think while count is less than times is better. This is the thing about while statements. You have to craft this condition for the while loop very carefully to make sure that the while loop does get executed as many times as you intended to, that you're able to enter the while loop if you need to enter the while loop, and that you're able to exit the while loop when you need to exit the while loop. So these are important things that you have to keep in mind when you use a while loop for repeating. It's not like the for when you have a fixed number. Here now, as you can see, it depends on the user. We will also go over some of the issues that can occur. So here I've got please enter the count. Now if I say 0, right, this should not print hello world at all, and this is exactly what happens. But if I had changed this to while count is less than equal to time, count is equal to 0, times was entered as 0, and then because count was equal to times, even though I enter 0, then it's going to print it once. You see, it's gone into an infinite loop, and we definitely don't want this kind of thing happening, right? The other thing that I would like to point out here is that count starts off with 0, right? And it has to keep a counter. So I'm going to increment count plus equal to count plus 1, because once it's done writing one time, then I do not want it to go to an infinite loop like what's happened here. If I do not increment my count, then it's going to give me an infinite loop. So these are two things that we have to keep in mind. I'm going to just go over this one more time here. And I'm going to say if I enter 0, then if I'm not careful with this entry, with this condition, I may end up printing this one time. Therefore, I'm going to change this and say while count is less than times. So I'm going to do the 0 testing. As you can see, this is not enter the loop at all because 0 is not less than 0. The other thing that I wanted to point out is, let's say I do not enter 0, but I enter 2. Then what's going to happen is, because initially count starts off with 0, and then once it prints hello world one time, it comes back, right, to check if it should execute the loop one more time. And as you can see, what's going on here is that count is never getting incremented. So 0 is always less than 2, and it's going to go into a continuous loop. So I'm just going to demonstrate that here. So I enter 2, and this program is going to go into an infinite loop. So this is what happened, and I'm going to stop it. So in order to take care of this, to keep a count, I will increment that so that once count is equal to count starts with 0, the first time this loop executes, count becomes 1. 1 is still less than 2, so it will execute the loop a second time, and once it executes it 2 times, its count is going to get set to 2, and 2 is not less than 2. Therefore, it will exit the while loop and come out. So let's look at this by entering 2, and as you can see, this program works perfectly fine. So this is a demonstration of how the basic while structure works. Now let's take this learning and put it into how we